we have a 15 minutes discussion.
So the click Jamila, I'll tell you. I think you can stop sharing, sir.
Oh.
And start sharing when we.
Should we wait for a little more time, Usha?
Maybe we can wait for another 5 minutes. I'm just
Let us wait for maybe 2-3 minutes and then we will start.
Yeah, we can wait for 5 minutes. People are joining.
The people are joining. Let me check. Hari Krishna has got a nice painting. Hi. Ucheda video ke endo oru cheriya prashna.
I don't know why. I'll switch off the video. Once I start, I'll switch off my video. So it's distracting idea.
Hi Maithili, you are muted.
You're muted, Maithili. You can unmute. Maithili, you have to unmute.
Hi, nice to see you.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. So, congratulations on the beautiful subject, paintings and art. Very nice.
Yeah. So today we thought we would go to art.
Yeah.
This being our 25th, the Silver Jubilee talk.
Silver Jubilee
session.
There.
And who is the speaker? He's from Art College?
No, he is a pro vice chancellor and an artist and a painter.
Ooh, my goodness.
That's Dr. Jay Kumar, who's at that end there on your screen.
You can see him. You can see him on the screen.
Oh. Looking forward to his speech.
Thank you.
I think we can start, Jamila.
Yeah, we'll start. Let the others join in.
Joining.
Keep time.
We'll just start.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, welcome everyone to the 25th lecture of our forum on culture and literature. We have had many talks in the past on varied topics, even one on painting, and that was on Ravi Varma's paintings by Deepthi Nair. Today we have with us a very talented and I would say a multi-talented personality with us to deliver the Silver Jubilee celebration of our forum. This is the 25th talk that we have under the Literary and Cultural Forum. So a very warm welcome to all the AIWC members who have joined us here on this platform, our other friends and well-wishers. A very warm welcome to all of you. I would also, at this point, register my thanks to Usha Nair, the zonal officer, who has been helping me in organizing this program every month. And without fail, we have been, in fact, having these lectures one after the other every month, with no month lost, I would say. And this has been because of the concerted effort that Usha has made to see that the program goes on very smoothly. A very warm welcome to Dr. Jay Kumar, who for some of you on this platform must be a familiar face, because he has established himself not only as an administrator and teacher, but also an artist in his own right. He has had exhibitions solo as well as with others, and has been acclaimed as a great portrait painter, in addition to the landscape painting that he does. And I would also like to thank him for giving me the opportunity to write poems on the paintings that he had done. And we brought out a collection on the net called Jugalbandi. So here is a very multi-talented person with us today to give this talk on life and landscape in impressionistic paintings. To introduce Dr. Jay Kumar, I have known him for a very long time now, a very committed teacher, and at the School of Distance Education. He was my research scholar as well for a long time. And after that, from 2018 to 2022, he was the Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of Kerala. And during his tenure, I must say that very many things were done in the university which had been lagging far behind, and the university was able to get an A++ during his tenure as the Pro Vice Chancellor. So big congratulations goes to Dr. Jay Kumar for this. In addition to this, at the academic side, I must say, he has distinguished himself as an editor of LitCrit, which is a journal of Indian responses to literature. And this journal has been going on for a very long time now. And just yesterday, he had the release of a special edition on the national education policy. So he's well abreast of what is happening all around India, particularly in the educational field. But this does not confine him to just India. He has won a number of fellowships to go outside the country. He got the Shastri Fellowship to go to Canada and to UK to attend seminars. He's been to Ottawa and to many other countries. He is also a NAC, what you call a NAC expert. Peer review, yes. He is also an expert in this and has gone to various colleges to look at the academic atmosphere there and to rate universities in India. And I particularly would like to thank him for keeping alive the memory of Dr. P.K. Rajan with the PK Memorial lectures that he has every year to remember Dr. P.K. Rajan, who left us very unexpectedly. So we have here, therefore, with us a very talented personality, not only in teaching, in administration, and as said, as a painter as well. So when I thought about bringing to this forum someone who could speak to us about painting, the first person I had in mind was Dr. Jay Kumar. So welcome to this gathering. And a very warm welcome, not only on my behalf, but on behalf of all the AIWC members who have gathered here today. Today's topic, as I said, is life and landscape in Impressionist painting. When I was thinking about the topic, one of the things that suddenly struck me was, what is the place, the question that I asked myself, what is the place of painting in our lives? Is it just to arouse our emotions, our feelings, our appreciation of the world around us? Take a closer look at the people around us. And as Pablo Picasso has said, art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. And I think that is exactly what painting does. Painting washes away from our lives the dust that has accumulated. So it makes us emerge with a new soul. And as Claude Monet has said, I want to paint like the birds sing. So it's something that comes very naturally from artists, something that is a display of their innermost feelings. Now, art and painting, we know, has always been there for as long as we can remember, maybe 40,000 years as history records, and about 6,000 years since India also came to project art and painting through the Ajanta and the Ellora caves. So art and painting are a part of human life, and you cannot divorce it from everyday concerns. And a person who can imagine, and a person who can feel, and a person who can sense the beauty of life around us, the joy of life, cannot but be a painter. And I think all of us, in one small way or another, we paint our feelings, if not on a canvas, but at least in our minds. The beauty of a butterfly, the fragrance of a flower that we see near us. That is what gives us a joy. And it's not just the landscape, but also the life, the people. People are so different from one another. And it is this difference, the variety of life around us, that gives meaning to our lives. And I think painting is an art form that captures the diversity of the world around us. So painting, I'm sure, will never be something that we can dissociate from our life. It's a part of our lives. And painters like Jay Kumar are a part of this great movement that makes our lives meaningful. So with these words and a very warm welcome once again to everyone gathered here, I request Dr. Jay Kumar to begin the talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the large-hearted introduction. Actually, I was always a kind of admirer of art, and did not practice art for a very long time. And it was only recently that I started painting, which I left the time when I was a student. So my appreciation of art certainly is connected with my early education, and especially my school education, where the teachers, not only the drawing teacher, but also other teachers, they tried to give us a lot of information about art, and also a lot of opportunity to engage in artistic activities. But after that, what I find is that I could not pursue it further for a very long period of time. But fortunately, recently, that means from 2015 onwards, I was pursuing that passion once again. So anyway, I'm not a big expert in this field, just a beginner, and whatever I know is through my readings and seeing some of the very important paintings in different parts of the world, and the interest that I gathered through these readings, as well as my experiences in watching the famous paintings in the galleries. So today I will be trying to introduce Impressionism, Impressionist painting in that means in a brief fashion. I don't know whether I will be successful in introducing Impressionism in 30 minutes. I will try to do that. But before that, I would like to thank the organizers, especially Professor Jamila Begum and Usha Nair, for inviting me to this function. So it was only now that I come to know that this is the 25th program that the organization is organizing. So that itself is actually a kind of credit. And I'm extremely thankful to the organizers for inviting me to this particular function on this particular occasion. So I will begin my lecture as Professor Jamila Begum has already pointed out. Art is something that is very much connected with life. It is always is connected with the changing texture of life. So art never remains the same forever. It is always changing. It changes with life. So to a certain extent, we can say that art is life itself, because it is intimately associated with life. So my talk on Impressionism, landscape and life, certainly will focus on this intimacy and how this particular movement came into being, destabilizing the old movements or destabilizing the existing patterns of art, existing methods of painting, etc. So for that, I think we will have to briefly look at the classical art. Actually, Impressionism can be considered as a rebellion against the conventional way of painting or conventional criteria of art. We are all familiar with these two paintings, Mona Lisa and Creation of Adam. So these two iconic paintings represent, to a certain extent, the classical style of painting. Because we find in classical painting, most often, there is a focus on biblical themes as well as mythical stories. So it is always about either religious topics or focused on mythical figures, or at least the kings or the aristocracy, etc. So classical art was always focusing on this. More than that, classical art, to a great extent, adopts a realistic kind of presentation, presenting individuals and events in a realistic fashion, in three-dimensional fashion. That is bringing out their figures with as much clarity as possible. And that is what we find in the classical tradition of painting. Michelangelo is very famous for that. Da Vinci, through his, that is Mona Lisa, the kind of magical kind of painting, he shook the world, and he attracted attention of the whole world. Even now that is being appreciated. But we find that they are all realistic in the real sense of the term. And they try to provide a three-dimensional figure of the human body and the human face. And they were all attempting to present certain themes connected with Bible or myths, mythical stories, or historical incidents. This is what we see in the classical paintings. And as far as Impressionism is concerned, what we find is a deviation from the classical tradition. If the classical tradition focused on mythical and historical and biblical stories, Impressionism focuses on ordinary events of life. We know that Impressionism came into being in the 19th century. Throughout 19th century, we find the kind of style that is a transition from classical to Impressionist style. And they focuses on ordinary events of day-to-day life, and that too in the life of middle-class people and lower middle-class people, ordinary people, not the kings or the queens. And they are not concerned about, or they are not much interested in history or presenting historical themes or biblical themes. So they tried to present the day-to-day experiences of man. And there is a background for that. We are all aware of the transformation of life in Europe during 19th century. That is the influence of industrialization and the city life, cities developing in a big way, and life in the city transforming considerably, and the middle class emerging as powerful sections of the society, and the emergence of coffee houses, emergence of ballrooms, construction of huge buildings, and development of roads which are very vast and big when compared to the earlier smaller narrow roads in the cities. So all sorts of transformations were happening in Europe. And we find that the invention of photography is another important change that happened. With the emergence of photography, what happened is that people began to realize the importance of day-to-day life. They can take photographs of any particular moment with any number of people. So the importance of moments in the ordinary life was actually realized by the people. The new transport system, like the trains as well as buses and the swift moving transport system, also influenced the perception of the people, how we look at things. Things are not static, they are moving. When we move in the vehicle, we see the landscape also moving. So the movement, constant movement is somewhat very much evident in Impressionist painting. Then the large buildings, huge buildings in the cities, that also transformed the very appearance of the city. And apart from that, the life of the people also changed, especially that of women. Women became more fashionable, they became more free, they began to indulge in social activities, they began to participate in social gatherings, parties, dances, etc. So the transformation of the life of the middle class women, that also is another aspect of this particular period. So naturally, the painters of this period began to portray the changing style of life, the changing style of the city, the changing nature of the landscape through their paintings. And in their paintings, we find beautiful landscapes, rivers, pools, harbors, cityscape, gatherings of people, parties, people moving in boats. So we find people moving through the cities. We find several scenes of contemporary life, day-to-day life in the Impressionist paintings. And that is the major change that occurred with the emergence of Impressionism. That is, painting moved away from historical and biblical and mythical themes and moved towards ordinary day-to-day life and the events in ordinary life. Actually, in France, during that time, there was an academy for painters. And this academy was controlled by people who are traditionalists in the real sense of the term, because they were not ready to accept changes, new styles emerging in the field of painting. And the juries of this academy, they are supposed to select paintings for exhibitions. And the exhibitions were conducted at Salon de Paris, which is the major art gallery in Paris at that time. Even though exhibitions were conducted regularly, the kind of paintings that were selected for these exhibitions were most often, majority of them at least, were traditional kinds of paintings, because the jury prefers only that. And they are very much against new experiments in this field. So because of that, what happened is that the so-called Impressionists, the kind of painters that we now call Impressionists, they never got an opportunity to exhibit their paintings in Salon. So this is a picture of Salon, the gallery. This is a painted picture. And we find that the gallery is arranged in such a way that at every spot there will be a painting. Paintings will be there from the bottom to the top. So they won't spare any space. At every space there will be a painting. And it was very popular as well. But it was limited to the established painters. More than that, if you have to be acclaimed as a painter, you will have to exhibit your painting in Salon. Then only you will be accepted as a painter. And that was the kind of acceptance that Salon de Paris had in France at that time. But unfortunately, the Impressionist painters did not get opportunity to exhibit their paintings in this gallery. And Edgar Monet, who was a traditionalist as far as his style of painting in the initial stages is concerned, he can be termed as the first painter who introduced a new style which is similar to the Impressionist style. He was an admirer of the old masters. But at the same time, even though he started his painting in the traditional fashion, he tried to introduce innovative styles of painting. Innovative style in the sense that he tried to focus on looser kinds of sketches, not the three-dimensional style of traditional painting. Instead of that, the three-dimensional paintings, he tried to portray looser kind of sketches through lines. That is, it looks like a sketch, not like a three-dimensional, original, real kind of figure. It looks like a painting. It looks like a sketch. He used lines and short brushwork to paint several scenes of everyday life. So two things happened with Monet. One is that he started adopting topics from everyday life, that is scenes of cafes, scenes of streets, and scenes of bourgeois life, the leisure parties in their life. All these events were sketched by him. And they were sketched in such a way that it is different from the traditional style, using small brushwork and line work instead of the three-dimensional style of painting. So Monet can be considered as the introducer of Impressionism, even though he does not belong to that group of Impressionist painters. This is one of the works, paintings of Monet, titled as The Balcony, painted in 1869. And in this painting, The Balcony, you find the difference in style from Michelangelo. That is, here you find the three-dimensional structure is lacking. At the same time, it is full of light. It is bright, mainly because of the kind of dress, the white dress that they are wearing. Here you find three, actually there are four people. One is in the background, the dark, but if you look at it carefully, you can see another person in the background. And these three people are sitting in the balcony watching something. But you find that the three people are looking at three different things. They are not looking at the same thing. They are looking at three different things. Something that is happening outside, they watch from the balcony. Actually, the persons mentioned here or painted here are Berthe Morisot, who is sitting in the left. She is a famous painter. She is considered as an Impressionist painter. She was a friend of Monet. And behind her is Jean-Baptiste Antoine Guillemette, who is also a painter. Sorry, who is a painter. And another lady is the violinist Fanny Claude. So these people who are sitting and watching something actually presents before us the middle class family or middle class life, a middle class life of the time. More than that, what we see is that the painting is in an unusual perspective, because this is a balcony, but we see the people as if we are standing at a high pedestal and looking at them. We see them as if they are in the ground or the ground level, but actually they are sitting in the balcony. So the different perspective that they have used, it is unusual, different from the realist kind of painting. And the kind of line sketches is also different from the realist kind of painting. And the brightness of the painting, that is another thing that is common to Impressionists. They use very bright colors. Even though the background is little dark, you find that the figures are all, that the individuals painted here appear very bright. And another thing is that the painter is not actually careful about the clarity or the realistic nature of the objects here. Look at the way in which they have been painted. You find that the details are not given importance. The details are, I think, blurred, to a certain extent blurred. Even though the details of the window is somewhat clear, you find that the flowers and the plants and the background, everything is blurred. The details are not given importance. And that is also another style that is very much inherent to Impressionists. So the balcony, even though it is not an Impressionist painting, not considered as a true Impressionist painting, this by Monet certainly shows the beginning of a new style of painting, which is later known as Impressionism. And Impressionism and the movement actually was very much influenced by another transformation in the society, that is the emergence of cafes in Paris. The importance of cafes is that anybody can come to a cafe. That is, people belonging to different strata of the society, different classes can visit the cafe. So the cafe was a location for the painters to come together, the Impressionist painters to come together and to discuss about their painting. And more than that, what happens is that I told you about the traditional academy of painters never accepted the new Impressionist painters who experimented with a new style. So they were out of the academy. They were not allowed a space in the academy. So naturally, they considered the cafes as an alternate space for developing an alternate tradition, a new style of painting. So the emergence of the cafes in large numbers in Paris and different parts of France certainly helped the Impressionist painters to get ideas about what other painters are doing and to get inspired by their ideas and to come out with newer and newer paintings. It was a kind of meeting point for them. And to a great extent, we can say it was an intellectual hub. We know that when we look at the history of cafes, coffee houses, we know that the famous thinkers, writers, artists, everybody used to visit cafes. And coffee houses were at once the location for very important, serious debates on various aspects of life, various aspects of social life, art, literature, philosophy, etc. In the case of Impressionists also, the Paris cafes did the same function. It was an intellectual hub for them. They got enough time and space for discussing their own new innovative ideas and to brush up their talents and to come out with more vigor to experiment with the new ways of painting. So the cafes certainly influenced them a lot. And so, rejected by the academy, they decided to conduct an exhibition on their own. And that first exhibition was conducted in 1874. And the title that they gave to this exhibition was very interesting: Anonymous Society of Painters. That is what they called themselves, Anonymous Society of Painters, Sculptors, and Printmakers. So the term anonymous suggests the fact that they are not accepted as painters. They are not approved as painters by the society. So they remain anonymous. So Anonymous Society of Painters, Sculptors, and Printmakers conducted the first exhibition in 1874. And in the beginning, in the first exhibition, the response was not at all good. There were very few reviews. And those reviews that appeared in the papers were highly critical of these painters. And most of these painters were criticized very badly by the experts, art experts of that time, mainly because the existing style of art was totally different from what these painters were doing. The conservative style, the conservative art critics could not accept the style of painting that is adopted by the new so-called impressionist painters. So they were never accepted. But even then, they continued to conduct exhibitions, and altogether they conducted 8 exhibitions between 1874 and 1886. So slowly they began to be accepted by people. And by the time Monet died, we find that he was celebrated as one of the most important artists of France. So anyway, it was accepted by people and critics later. And the term Impressionism actually came into being through one painting by Claude Monet. Claude Monet is a different painter, not Edgar Monet. Claude Monet painted a particular scene in the port of Le Havre. And that scene was quite different from the landscapes that we see usually in a painting. It was not at all clear. It was covered with mist. The sky was covered with mist. And he actually depicted the sunrise, early morning sky, early morning landscape, but it was not at all clear. The background was covered with mist. And that misty morning scene in the port is seen in the painting. You see some boats here and there, and the sun rising, sun reflected in the water. The movement of the water is suggested through very bold brush strokes, and the vessels moving forward. There also you find that movement. And you find that at the same time, he doesn't provide proper details of these things. They are all done in a very, very hazy manner, unclear fashion. The details are not properly given. Or in other words, you find they are all merging together. The various objects in the that you find in the painting, they all merge together and become one. So this painting, he gave a title, Impression Sunrise. That was the title that he gave to this painting. A very strange title, Impression Sunrise. And one article was published criticizing this particular painting. And that writer, while criticizing this painting, he tried to refer to artists and paintings of this sort as impressionist painting. That is basing on the title of the painting, he gave a common name to such paintings as impressionist. And that is how the term impressionism came into being, originally from Claude Monet's painting of Impression Sunrise. So this particular painting, you find that when compared with a classical traditional landscape painting, you find that it is totally different, both in appearance as well as in style, because in traditional kind of painting, in oil painting, you find that it will be done in several coats. After the first coat, once it is dry, the second coat is given, and then once again it has to be dried, and then only the third coat, like that. It is done in various stages. But here, Monet doesn't wait for that process, that kind of 3-stage process. Even before drying, he will apply the next coat of paint. And in that way, we find that the painting, in that painting, you find different colors mixed together and appear blurred, and you find that the clarity of vision is allowed by the painter. So this may be because you find that later critics argue that this is because science tells us during that time, science developed much, and scientific experiments found out that what we see before us is not what is actually registered in our mind. What is registered in our mind through a particular, after seeing an object, is not the same as the object. We register something else in our mind. There is a gap between what is seen before us and what is actually registered in our mind. So seeing is actually something different from what is being experienced by us. So that gap certainly might have prompted these painters to paint the landscape in a different way from the so-called realistic kind of depiction of the landscape. So Monet actually used the term impression as the title of one of his paintings, and that became the name for the group of painters who are now known as Impressionist painters. This is Claude Monet, born in 1840 and died in 1926. Actually, Monet can be considered as the leader of the group, leader of the Impressionist painters. He developed his method through a series of experiments. And one of the styles adopted by him is to paint images repeatedly. Certain images are repeated in his paintings. For example, haystacks. There are several paintings of haystacks, different types of images of haystacks, and several images of a cathedral, Rouen cathedral, different images of cathedral, and several paintings of the famous water lily. Water lily paintings are very famous, and several different images of water lily. So a series of painting series were done by Monet, series on a particular topic, particular theme, being repeated in his paintings. And we don't know why he did that. It may be because we all see that one and the same object can be seen in different ways. In postmodernism and the contemporary criticism, we learn how one and the same object can be seen and understood and experienced in different ways, multiple ways. The multiple vision certainly is suggested through the series of paintings of haystacks, the cathedral, water lily, done by Claude Monet. So Monet was a very popular figure, or he became a popular figure later, and he was very well appreciated by all. But by the time he died in 1926, the last part of his life, actually new movements came like Cubism and modernism, etc. And by that time, his popularity declined. But even then, he was accepted by all. So this is one of the paintings by Monet, Woman with a Parasol. You find a very different kind of style adopted by Monet in this. Everything, the sky, the figure of the woman, the figure of her son, the presentation of the raised platform, the grass, everything is different from a realistic painting. This is actually an ordinary moment in the life of an ordinary woman. And the model is his own wife, and the child is his own son. A fleeting moment, a a moment in the life of a woman. Nothing historical in it, nothing mythical in it, just an ordinary moment. But we find that that woman, her face is not clear. Her face is not clearly portrayed. The child's face is also not clearly portrayed. And the fact that the background is very, very bright, luminous background, full of light. The clouds and the lights is very, very evident. And the grass is painted with the small, small brush strokes, not in the kind of realistic painting, but small, small brush strokes, which give the impression that they are all very, very live and active. And the woman, her posture shows that she is also moving. She is not still, she is moving. And the wind is playing on her dress. It is also moving. So the movement certainly is very much experienced, or it is visible in that painting. Bright light is visible in that painting. And the kind of colors used, blue, white, green, yellow, purple, red, and orange, all these colors, you find that these colors merge together because no particular color is, I think, it is dominant in this painting. All merge together and mix very, very normally in this painting. So woman, this particular painting of a woman, you find the almost all important characteristics of an impressionist painting. He is actually presenting one particular moment in the life of a woman. There is nothing special about it, but it is something that shows the movement of life, the brightness of life, the happiness, and the active nature of the woman as well as nature. And that is very much evident in this painting. Then these are two other paintings, what I call a series, what I referred earlier as series, that is water lilies. On the left side, you find the water lilies. And in that, we find a very different perspective in this from the earlier painting. Look at the right side, there is the Japanese bridge. In that painting, you find that even though the style of painting is quite different from the traditional kinds of paintings, the perspective is very much traditional because you can see the bridge, underneath you can see the water and the river and the water lilies, and the background you can see the trees, etc. But in the left side, the other painting, you see only the water. The whole canvas is filled with water. We don't see what is there on the other side of the water. So that shows a totally different perspective adopted by the painter. The canvas is full of water, as if you are looking from above. Looking from above, you see water, only water, no other thing, no other object in the sideways. So the adoption of a new perspective is very much visible here. And look at the lilies, water lilies, and the leaves, etc. They are all done in a very, very, it appears to be a very casual manner. They all mix together. Nothing is three-dimensional, and they are all merging together. So that is the style adopted by the Impressionist painters. And another important figure in this group is Renoir, Pierre Auguste Renoir. Renoir was also considered as an Impressionist painter who tried to create a very different impression of the figures as well as landscape using multicolored strokes. And we find that his paintings are famous for they're presenting the day-to-day life in a very strange fashion. That means when we see his paintings, this is one of his paintings, very famous paintings. And this is a Sunday afternoon, a scene of a Sunday afternoon. We find the whole canvas full of people, unlike the Monet's painting where you find nobody, it is only the landscape. But here, the canvas is full of people. And everybody is very active. They are singing, they are dancing, they are talking, they are chatting, and they are laughing. They are doing all sorts of things. This is a Sunday afternoon. So this scene gives us the idea that life is changing because these young men and women, they are enjoying themselves. They are attending a party. They are dancing and they are laughing. They are merrymaking, enjoying themselves. So life is changing. Women started coming to public spaces in a huge way. They are very much relaxed. They are very bold. They are very eager, and you find in the front side of the canvas a woman talking to a young man very attentively, and another woman is also looking at him. So you find two other young men on the right side looking at these women. In the background, you find a woman and a man dancing. And so everybody is active and they are all enjoying life. So the transformation of life that is happening at that time, the importance of leisure, that is part of that contemporary life, that is very much present in this painting. In the Sunday afternoon, everybody is very well dressed. They are wearing beautiful clothes, that is different colored clothes, red, yellow, blue, green, black, and they are very well dressed. They appear very beautiful, and they are all ready to enjoy life. So we find that this kind of a scene painted by Renoir certainly indicates, not only indicates the transformation of life, but also indicates the transformation of painting, art itself. Because earlier we thought that a painting has to present either a historical or a mythical event or a landscape full of trees or rivers or hills and valleys, etc. But here is a painting which is full of people. There are a few trees that can be seen, but apart from that, full of people. So this is a totally different kind of method that he has adopted, and a different kind of style, which presents the changing lifestyle of contemporary France and Paris especially. Another important painter in this group is Edgar Degas. Degas was a totally different kind of painter because he was not just a painter, he was involved in various other activities as well. And he most often he painted human figures, male and female. And in his paintings, what you find is the dancers, cabaret dancers, and we find that the dancers that he painted, in such paintings, and there is a series of paintings of dancers. And in these paintings, what you find is he focuses on the movement of the body, not on their appearance, their face, but on the movement of the body. So look at this particular painting, Ballet Rehearsal. In this painting, you find that it is totally different from a traditional kind of painting. Here, the dancers are on one side of the canvas. The female ballet dancers, they are rehearsing for an opera. On the left side, the left extreme, there is a violinist playing violin. He is the only male figure. Others are all ladies. They are practicing, rehearsing. The three ladies in the front, they are rehearsing one particular step, whereas the other four ladies in the back side, they are rehearsing certain other steps. They are not actually doing the same thing. They are doing something different. And half of the room remains empty. And look at the color scheme of the painting. The room is light brown color, gray, somewhat gray or grayish brown, and the ladies are wearing white dress. So in the background of the gray, the white appears very, very striking. And the dress is painted in such a way that it shows the movement of the dress, because they are dancers, and when they dance, the skirts move, they float, and that floating sensation is created by the painting, by the painter. A floating sensation is felt when you see that painting. But at the same time, you find that you are not able to see their face clearly. It is blurred. Expressions are not clear, but the motion is very much felt. So we find that the painter is trying to present the movement of the dance, the spirit of the dance in a clear fashion in the background of that big hall where they are taking a rehearsal. And so then another painter, that is Morisot. Morisot is one lady representative among the Impressionists. And Morisot actually was a highly talented painter. She works in different formats: watercolor, pastel, oil color, everything. And one of the characteristics of her painting is that she paints figures in a very clear fashion and in a very fast way. It is said that she takes a lot of time for sketching, but for painting, she takes very little time. And you know that Impressionists always try to paint outdoors, unlike the traditional painters. Most often they try to paint outdoors, and they will take their canvas and paint and go to a particular spot and will paint and finish it there. Most of the painters are like that. But Morisot, to a certain extent, followed the traditional fashion, that is painting indoors. And in her paintings, what we see a kind of a totally different kinds of concern, that different preoccupation. And look at this particular painting, the cradle, the feminine. That is, the feminine character is evident in this painting, the cradle. Actually, in this painting, what you find, a mother is looking at the baby. The baby is sleeping. From the look of the mother, from her gaze, we see that she is very much concerned, and her intimacy towards the child is evident. Her protective nature is evident. She is holding her head with her left hand, and she is eagerly looking at the child which is sleeping. The child's eyes are closed, it is sleeping, and its hand, the right hand, is kept on the, it is on the right side. You can see a shade of its right hand, but its eyes are closed. So this particular painting, which was displayed in the first Impressionist exhibition, even though it did not get much attention at that time, later it became very famous. That feminine preoccupation with the family, that what happens indoors, is very much evident in this painting. And so Morisot was another important painter. And then comes Alfred Sisley, who is yet another figure. among the Impressionists. And Sicily's paintings, this is one of his paintings in which he depicts a dam. So in the depiction of the dam, what you find is that he was also trying to show the movement of water. The fast movement of water is depicted through quick lines or strokes, quick strokes, water moving very fast from the dam. It is on the left side also, it is overflowing from the left side. And that movement is very evident in this painting. And look at the sky. The sky is full of clouds, but the clouds are not in proper shape. It is in a haphazard shape. So using that means complex brush strokes, he tries to present the sky, which is in a haphazard shape, and presents the movement of water, which is moving very fast. So we find that in this particular, or through this particular painting, the artist is trying to show that particular moment, seeing this particular dam. And you see that the dam again is a sign of the modern life, modern development, scientific progress, etc. So he chose to depict the dam instead of the hills or the valley nearby, and mainly because he wanted to show the contemporary life, contemporary transformations in life. So these are the important impressions. There were about 30 painters, but these are the important Impressionist painters who were part of this group. But there were several other painters also who came after them who were known as post-Impressionists, because their style is also very much connected with Impressionism, but slightly different, and they are not part of this particular group, so-called Impressionist group. And Paul Cézanne is one of the most important post-Impressionist painters. And Cézanne is important not only because of the influence of Impressionism in his painting, but also because he actually introduced the new techniques like Cubism. He was not a Cubist, but his painting certainly gave a kind of proper direction for the development of Cubism. Because in this particular painting, the card players, which was painted in 1890, you find that the figures that are depicted here are not ordinary figures. That means their body and their parts and the various other objects that you see, they are all pictured in such a way that they are all cube shaped, or they are all shaped in particular geometrical shapes. So the geometrical shapes that is given to even the human body and the table, everything that is depicted here, that is the kind of transformation brought about by Cézanne, because he believed that everything that you find in nature are to a certain extent geometrical, connected with geometrical shapes, either round or cylindrical, etc. So actually it is from this particular style of Cézanne that Cubism developed later. And Picasso was very much influenced by this style. And Vincent van Gogh is another important name connected with Impressionism, even though he was not part of this group. So he is considered as a post-Impressionist painter. And much is known about Vincent van Gogh, even though during his lifetime he was not able to sell his paintings. He painted about 700 to 800 paintings, but he could sell only one painting during his lifetime. And he led a very poor life, without money, without any kind of domestic happiness. He lived with the support of his brother, and he was to a great extent insane, admitted to an asylum. So a very harsh life was actually there for him. But even then, his paintings that he painted during a very short span of time, that is 10 years, from 1880 to 1890. He painted only for 10 years, but with these 10 years, he painted about 700 beautiful paintings, which made him world famous. So we find that Vincent van Gogh was very much influenced by Impressionism, but at the same time, his paintings were not same as the other Impressionist painters. He concentrated more on colors and the kind of colors that he used, the yellow, blue colors that he used. Actually, that is the striking feature of his painting, not the kind of that means style that is adopted by other Impressionist painters. And the colors actually expressed his ideas. So Vincent van Gogh is also considered as a painter who gave way for a new movement that is known as Expressionism. Expressionism that came later actually tried to focus on the feeling of the painter. The feelings of the painter is given importance, and that is expressed through the painting. And Expressionism, it is believed that developed with Vincent van Gogh or inspired by Van Gogh's painting. And this is one of the famous paintings of Vincent van Gogh, The Starry Night. Everybody knows about this. Actually, this particular scene is based on one of the landscapes that he saw in the asylum. But he could not see that landscape from his window of his room. He has to go down and see this landscape. So he painted this from memory. And it is said that the kind of tree that you see here, that tree was originally a small tree, but he painted it as a very big tree. And the stars and the moon that you see, they are all painted in such a way that it expresses his mood, his strange mood in the lunatic asylum. So anyway, and the valley is full of that is some buildings as well as some trees, small trees, and they are all seen in the moonlight with a very different kind of appearance, and that is evident in this painting. So this particular painting gives us some idea about the mood of the painter, and so it is more than an Impressionist painting. It is an Expressionist painting, you can say, expressive of his mood, what is going on in his mind. And the kind of brush strokes that he uses, it's similar to that of Impressionists, small brush strokes, and that too done in a hurry, that is in one sitting, not done and in stage by stage manner. So this is the kind of paintings that Impressionists brought about. And in the early stage, they were never accepted by the traditional viewers as well as traditional artists. But later, Impressionism began to be accepted as one of the mainstream movements of the time. The later part of the 19th century, it became the mainstream movement of art. And Impressionist paintings are now available in almost all important galleries in different parts of the world. So this is a very brief kind of analysis of what is Impressionism and how it is different from the realist or the traditional style of painting. Thank you very much. If you have any kinds of opinions, suggestions, or comments, I think we can certainly have.
Thank you, Dr. Jay Kumar, for that very, very informative and enlightening and interesting talk. We have 2 comments in the chat box. Ashita says, great to listen to the talk. Thank you. And Chitra Sarkar says, fascinating and erudite talk. Please invite the speaker back to cover other subjects like old masters would be great. So you are very much in demand. If Chitra is here, please unmute and you can make your comment. Anyone else who would like to ask questions or perhaps add to what Dr. Ajay Kumar has just
Thank
said?
you, Jamila. Thank you, Professor Ajay Kumar. And I hope you accept my suggestion and come back. We'd love to hear you again.
Okay.
I was very fascinated by the painting, the water lilies. I think you have also made a painting of the water lilies, if I remember
yes.
right.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Monet has a lot of such paintings, a series of paintings of water lilies.
But what's your feeling to make such a painting when you had so many others that Monet has painted? Why did you choose the water lilies?
Actually, it gives a kind of, that means a different kind of view, because usually in landscape painting, we paint huge hills and mountains and valleys and trees, like the forests, stones, etc. But these water lilies certainly gives us a very ethereal kind of image, because water is supposed to be a kind of an image of eternity, an image of that means an idea of unknowable, something that cannot be understood. And the lilies that come out of this water, they are actually expressions of knowledge, of truth, or something that comes out from the unknown. So it has a kind of ethereal effect in the mind. More than that, it is very soothing to see these lilies and the water, a soothing scene. And so it creates a very different kind of mood from, that means different from a usual landscape.
Did you go to see the water lilies?
No. I never got an opportunity to see painting. I have seen certain other paintings by Monet and paintings by some of the masters in London Art Gallery, Tate and other National Gallery, but could not see the lilies.
Because these galleries, like the National Gallery in the US, they have printouts of many of these paintings. And I was fortunate to buy some of those printouts. Something that really appeals to you because it's very different from, as you say, realistic painting. Because these paintings really touch your mind to think differently. As you said, the unfathomable depths of the water, of the water lilies, and the beauty that comes out of that unfathomable depth. That was very interesting. Anyone else would like to offer comments?
Sir, it was very enlightening. I'm Rama Anantram from Hyderabad. So you didn't say much, anything about the contemporary ones, this Hussein and Aziz. You have followed their paintings?
No, actually, I didn't follow those paintings, so I'm not. Who are they? Aziz?
M.F. Hussein.
M.F. Hussein, I have. So actually, my talk was on Impressionist painters, and so
they're all the modern contemporary.
I limited to that particular movement called Impressionism.
Okay.
French Impressionist painters of that particular period.
Okay. No, because their horses always intrigued me. So I was wondering if you'd have some expression for it or something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, the horses have now become a part of most living rooms. Because they supposed to suggest the energy and the vitality of life.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Usha?
Yeah, thank you, sir, for that very, very interesting talk. We hardly noticed the passage of time, and you gave us glimpses of some of the most beautiful paintings that have been done. And it gave us a lot of information also, how the Impressionist movement itself grew from the roots and how it has moved on to Expressionism. It was very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jamila, would you like to say something, or shall we wind up?
Yeah, I would like to. I think the vote of thanks goes to you, so you can go ahead.
Yeah. A special thanks to Dr. Jay Kumar for being part of this webinar. As was mentioned earlier, we have been having the series of webinars every month for more than 2 years now. And we have had very varied topics touching upon art and literature and culture and arts and paintings, drama. Everything. We have touched all interesting topics. And we are fortunate to have you cover this particular topic about the Impressionist paintings. It gave us a very good perspective about the history of paintings as such. Thank you so much. And thank you for sparing your valuable time, because I know that you have been terribly busy all these days. And but in spite of that, you accepted our invitation and joined us. Thank you so much, sir. And I thank all the others, members of AIWC and non-members who have joined us from different parts of the country. I'm really happy that we had people who are interested in the topic, and we had a good quality audience. I thank all of you, and we look forward to your participation in our next webinar or next month. We'll announce the date and topic very soon. And we are happy that we have covered 25 lectures in this period. And it has been a very satisfying journey for us, organizing these webinars, getting some of the best people to talk on a variety of subjects. And we also would like to invite suggestions from our regular audience about topics that you would like to see covered, like Chitra Sarkar has just mentioned about old masters, and any other suggestion, and even suggestions about speakers that we can invite to this series. That will be very helpful, and we can add variety to our collection of lectures. All these lectures are on YouTube, and we are having very good viewership on YouTube, because many people who find it difficult to join us during this time, we are posting the link in our groups, and we see that a lot of people are watching these videos on YouTube. So I thank all of you, and Dr. Jamila especially, because for keeping this going. It is only because of you, and I think people come to listen to you also more as equally as eminent speakers. They like to talk, listen to you, how you introduce the subject, how you introduce the speaker. Thank you so much, Jamila, for being such a support for taking this forward. And I thank all of you on behalf of All India Women's Conference, Trivandrum Branch and South Zone, and on behalf of all of us who have been organizing these webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jay Kumar, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Usha, for such variety of presentations.
Thank you.
The biggest blessing of the COVID has been your webinars. Thank you so much, Dr. Jamila and Usha Nair. Thank you.
Thank you, Usha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Otherwise, we could never visit Kerala and go through all your excellent knowledge. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, no, thank you so much, because COVID has actually given us a new platform. From there, we have been able to function and connect to people across the country. So that has been a blessing in disguise for us. So thank you, and hope to see you again at the next webinar.